Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Loaded Mag NUFC. This is it, the big match preview. This is away days. The derby is here, and yes, we are all absolutely buzzing, looking forward to this. And we've got a fantastic guest to talk it all through. But first of all, boys, how are we feeling after last night's game? How are we feeling tonight? Are we feeling more positive? Are we looking forward to the game on Sunday? What's the general thoughts on this fine Thursday evening, lads? How are we doing?
I'm definitely looking forward to the game on Sunday. I know I'm looking forward to it a lot more than Tom, as he's just mentioned. But I'm looking. I said last night, if everyone's sleeping it was the point. We have other games to come, especially that one at PSV that we have at home to hopefully secure our spot in the next round of the Champions League. But all good to me, day off as well, so all fresh. How are you, Chris?
Oh, mate. Today has just been a day, let me tell you. But in terms of last night, do you know what? I'm doing all right. I'm taking the point and I'm moving on. I mean, to be honest, the three of us were quite relaxed over last night's result, weren't we? Obviously, it would have been nice to get all 3 points. Could we have got them? Should we have got them? Arguably, yes. But I still think a point at Leverkusen, it's not bad going. We're now 5 games unbeaten. So taking the positives, looking forward to Sunday. Obviously, Sunday will depend on the performance as well, though. We have to bear that in mind, because it's not going to be an easy game. It really isn't. But no, I can't wait. I as much as I love the Champions League and it's a pleasure to be involved in it, you boys know, and you probably feel the same as well. Like, I'm fully focused on this Premier League. We need to get up that table and we need to get in that top 5. We really, really do. It's so important. I'm buzzing for this weekend. But Pete, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm nervously excited about Sunday. I know what I'm going to be like. Sunday morning, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be a nervous wreck for about an hour. And then all of a sudden, I get that excitement feeling. And then all of a sudden, near to kick off, when the players in the tunnel, I'll start getting nervous again. But this is what it's all about. It's Derby Day. This is it. We've been waiting. How long has it been? 9 years? We've been waiting in the Premier League to have this Derby Day. Cannot wait. People in the chat, make sure you click those likes, do all that good stuff. Get your super chats in. We will come straight to them. Make sure you got a question in there for Tom as well. And look, let's not beat around the bush. Let's not wait around any longer. Let's welcome him in. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome back Tom White from Sky Sports News. Welcome in, Tom.
Welcome back, Tom.
Well, pleasure to be here. Yes, you've all used the word buzzing. I'm not. I dread these. I absolutely dread the derbies. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If someone offers me a draw in every derby for the rest of my life, I will have a very happier life. I dread them. Absolutely dread them.
Well, what is it about the derbies that adds to this dread? Is it just the thought of losing, potentially losing this game? Is that what kind of the dread is stemming from?
Exactly that, because that's why I said I would take the draw, because when you win a derby, as you know, it's amazing. It's some derby wins are euphoric, but when you lose, you kind of have to switch your phone off. You know, it's like it's hard work. It helps now. I'm not on Twitter anymore, so that helps. I don't see any of that. But there's other social medias, and there's also all the people around me who tend to all be most of my, as you know, as I said before, the vast majority of my friends are Newcastle fans. I can't avoid them. So it's just the absolute. It is just the fear of losing. So, as ever, I would take a draw. The only time I wouldn't take a draw is if we need to win to stay up or something.
Tom, is there anyone in particular at the Sky Studios that you would hope to avoid most if you were to get a defeat?
well, I know exactly who you're talking about there. And Pete Graves there. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time that.
That fella, yeah.
There he is. We were in great man, by the way, absolutely great man. Has he told you why he can't go to the derby?
No.
No.
Oh, he's taking the family to Centre Parks on their derby weekend.
Oh,
What a rookie mistake, Pete.
I know.
What a rookie mistake.
I know he's kept that one quiet. But yeah, when we were the 5-1, which I don't like thinking about, and I was in the Newcastle end, and I've explained before that as the goals kept going in, all the people around me, a couple of them even stopped like celebrating because it was so embarrassing to me. Because it was obvious I was a Sunderland fan. I wasn't being like an idiot or anything like that. I wasn't jumping up and down or like singing Sunderland till I die. But I wasn't clapping when you kept scoring, and a couple of them were like, "Oh God, this is like." People were actually, Newcastle fans were actually feeling sorry for me in that one. And at half time we were 3-0. We were 3-0 down at half time, and I got a text from Pete just saying, "Hi Tom." I was like, I would never do that to you. Yeah, so yeah, I probably would avoid him. I probably would avoid him unless I could squeeze a pint out of him. Then fair enough.
Maybe a pint to just break the ice a little, just to settle into the conversation. Is a pint or two, and maybe all
pint, Jaeger bomb, Blue Wicked, tequila rosé. That'll do it. All right, that'll do it.
Ooh, not a bad shot at all. That's a decent compromise, boys. I think that we definitely agree to that one. But Tom, I'm a little bit surprised that you're obviously nervous and you're not looking forward to it from a certain perspective, because ultimately you've arrived back in the Premier League after so many years. And you've had, as painful as it is for us Newcastle fans to say it, you've had an absolutely tremendous start to the season. You're up there in the top half of the table, you're flying high, you've had some brilliant results and really gone toe-to-toe with some of the best in the Premier League. Just as a Sunderland fan, from your perspective, what's your overriding feeling going, like, at this point in the season, knowing what you've done so far? Like, how good must that feel?
Well, you even go back a little bit further than this season. It's ever since. So in the playoff semi-final second leg, in the last second of the game, we got a corner. Enzo Lefebvre took it. Dan Ballard headed it in, and we beat Coventry. It meant we beat Coventry to go through the final of the playoff. And that was an amazing feeling. Then we got to the final, 1-0 down. I still believe that we should have been 2-0 down. I actually think VAR got that one wrong when they disallowed a second Sheffield United goal. But thankfully, I'm not complaining, it was disallowed and we turned it around and won 2-1 again with one of the last kicks of the game. So we're on a real high. The summer, I thought we'd stick with pretty much the same players, add 2 or 3 first-team players, but that would be it. We spent a fortune, which I wasn't expecting. So the summer was good fun because we kept signing players, and as fans, we liked that. And then the season started and the kind of bubble hasn't burst yet. And that's fine because it will burst. We know it'll burst. We just really don't want it to burst on Sunday. But it really has been. It's not just been this season that we've been on this high. It feels like we haven't come down from cloud 9 since that Dan Ballard header in the semi-final second leg of the Championship playoff.
Yeah, Boyd, I'll come to you on this because it's been at times it's been painful seeing the rise of Sunderland up the league. But as much as that rivalry is still there, is there an element of admiration of what they've done coming back up to the Premier League and already sort of establishing themselves as a Premier League team again? And it looks like they're not going to get relegated this season. Daz, just what are your thoughts going in? And you don't have to be too nice in your response. Nice and early.
I can't do anything else. I'm always nice, Pete. No, look, they have been impressive. All of us would have said Sunderland are going straight back down again. handing out, that's what we would have said. But no, there's no way they're getting relegated this season, and that means the derbies are here to stay, Tom. Unfortunately, but yeah, no, they have been impressive. I haven't watched them that closely. Look at we'll talk about a few players. I'm sure Grant Xhaka, Dan Ballard stands out as well. But I watched a little thing. I'm not sure if it was on Sky or where it was, but about the manager Regis Leboir. So I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but it's impressive what he's done. He came from FC Lorient, and how he's come to Sunderland and changed things around, bringing through young players as well, and then obviously the what they've done in the transfer market has been unbelievable. And very, very interesting how it's all played out. But thoughts on the manager, Tom? What do you make of him?
I never heard of him when we appointed him. I've never even heard of him. It's pronounced Regis Lebris, right? But you're not really going to get that in Sunderland and Newcastle. You know, we just call him Reggie. All right, and that works. It works for us. It works for him, Reggie. And honestly, I thought, what are we doing? I thought we've appointed this cheap option, you know, because he did get relegated with Lorient. Now you've got to look into the mitigating circumstances of that. But you know, when he was appointed, I wasn't looking at the mitigating circumstances. What are we doing? And straight away, as soon as last season started in the Championship, he was brilliant, and the players kept talking about how good he was on the training pitch, etc. And they all seemed to instantly respect him. And he got us up, and we weren't expecting to go up last season. And this season, he's so calm. I'll tell you something that even though I don't go at the Sunderland and Newcastle news conferences because I'm studio based rather than out and about, he's for the media and for the kind of wider world of football fans, he's very, very boring. He never gives you like a top story. You know, he's very down to earth, but it works, and we love him. We really, really do. There was talk that in the summer Brentford were looking at him. I don't know how far that went. Maybe he was on their shortlist, but they never got to him in the end. But he's been excellent. And he's proved that he's tactically astute. He's proved that he's a good man manager because the players speak very, very highly of him. And he does have a say in transfers. He's not in ultimate control of transfers, but he does have a say. And the ones that he's had a say in have worked. So really, what more can you ask from your manager if you've got those three things: man management, tactically astute, and good in the transfer market? What more can we ask for?
Absolutely. Chris, looking at some of the players that they've signed this summer, some of them we know quite well. Simon Adingra from Brighton. You've got Bertrand Traore, formerly of Aston Villa. You've got Brian Brobby from Ajax. Then you go Enzo Lefebvre. You remember when Lee talked about him a few years ago as a player to watch out for. Granit Xhaka, we've touched on. We've got Mukiele from PSG. We've got Gertruda, a player that was linked with us as well. You go through all those players. That's not normally the caliber of player that a newly promoted side signs. Like they've signed some really impressive talent.
Yeah, they have, and none more so for me than Granit Xhaka. I think that will turn out to be one of, if not the signing of the season. Like as soon as Sunderland announced him, I was just thinking, how have they got Granit Xhaka? I know obviously people will say, you know, that he's approaching mid-30s, but what a player. What a player. I mean, you could argue as well, you know, another Mackham. You could argue Jordan Henderson for Brentford has been a really astute signing, really, really good signing for Brentford. And it just goes to show, I think some teams really need that experience, particularly promoted teams. We all said that Sunderland would, struggle this season. We all said Brentford. Brentford were one of my tips to go down. I thought Brentford were really in trouble because they lost the captain, they lost Norgard, they lost the manager, they lost the main striker, they lost the winger, and I'm thinking Brentford are surely down. And obviously Keith Andrews has come in and done a fantastic job. But yeah, I think Sunderland have been really, really clever in the market. And what's been nice as well, because we've seen in recent years, haven't we, newly promoted sides coming up. And, you know, they've already got one eye on the parachute payments and they're thinking we don't want to, you know, spend too much money and then be in trouble, you know, if and when we get relegated. But I like how Sunderland just thought, you know what, let's give this a bloody good go. And that's exactly what they've done. And in fairness to them, taking away the rivalry, I think Sunderland have been absolutely brilliant this season, and you know, it is going to be a tough game. I mean, Tom, you'll remember when we played each other in the cup, we were we were like this, but now it's as we come into this game as Newcastle fans. Yes, we're confident. Yes, we want to win, but it's not going to be that foregone conclusion, which is how it felt last time we met each other. Because Sunderland's squad or Sunderland's 11 looks completely different from when we last played them, and obviously picked up some really good points this season, beaten some really good teams, and managed to get points as well from teams that maybe they weren't expected to. So I think Sunderland are doing really, really well, and what a fantastic start, and they've given themselves a great platform. And I agree with you, Pete. I don't see Sunderland going down this season, because I think they've made such a strong start to the season. And regardless of the result this weekend, Tom, and hopefully this will make you feel better. Regardless of the result this weekend, I still think Sunderland are going to be absolutely fine this season. And I'm sure at the start of the season or the back end of last season, if someone said you're going to get promoted, which maybe it didn't look that way, and you will stay in the league, I imagine you'd have probably bit anyone's hand off for that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I made no secret of the fact that I thought we would go down this season. I was, very honest about that. I always am honest about what I think about where we are, and I thought we would go down. I trusted the manager, I trust the owner, and everything like that. But I still thought we'd come short, and maybe it's a bit of a lazy thought of if the last two seasons, if you get promoted to the Premier League, you go down from the Premier League the next season. But I wasn't particularly confident. But the first few games watching us play, it filled me with a lot more confidence than we have so far. Touch wood for us, kept it going.
Yeah.
And it's been great. And the difference when you bring up the last time we played in the FA Cup that season, we ended up finishing 16th in the Championship. And when we played you, you'd only just be knocked out of the Champions League, and unfairly knocked out of the Champions League, by the way. You got stitched up against PSG. I'll tell you that. That was and see, there was a huge gulf. Now I do still think that there is a difference in. I still think that your team is better than our team. I do believe that. I would never ever want to say your club is better than our club, obviously. I'd have to lock the door and never come out again if I said that. But I do think your team is better than I think your team is still better than our team. But back then, my God, the gulf was huge, and it showed.
So what's been the catalyst then for your rise this season? Because the way I've seen you rise this season and do really well, it reminds me of a better version of what Nottingham Forest did when they first got promoted. Is that they went and signed a lot of Premier League level players, way more than you, and they still struggled really that season. You haven't. You've been up there and you've accumulated a lot of points. What's been the main difference that you've noticed in this team, which has meant that you've picked up so many points? Because you haven't scored a massive amount of goals. You don't tend to create loads and loads of chances. So what is it about that team that is so unique that it's getting the results that it does at the moment?
Well, in terms of comparing us to other promoted clubs, we were already Premier League ready as a club, right? Yeah. Even when I used to always say we were in 4 years we were in League One, and I always used to say we are a Premier League club. It's just we're in League One. So we've got to the Premier League and everything there has been ready, okay? And the owner is clearly a lot more ambitious than I really realised that he was. And we've got there and he said, right, okay, yeah, the club's ready. The club's great. How do we make the team ready? And he must have thought, right, we could give these players who've taken us up a chance, which is what I would have done, by the way. I'm happy to admit I was wrong. If these players might not be ready yet, might not be good enough. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give the manager the best chance to build a team that is good enough. And that involves spending money. It involves an expensive scouting network, data analysts, recruitment analysts, all of that. He's obviously said, right, I am going to put all of this money and effort in so that no one's got any excuse other than to get a team that is ready for the Premier League. The club's ready. I'm going to make sure the team are ready. And it looks like that's what he's done. And some of the signings have been brilliant, Some of the signings have been brilliant. And I don't, I back my knowledge of football against anyone in the world. And a lot of these players I'd barely heard of. I'd heard of them in passing. Some of them I had to look up what position they played. I don't mind. Honestly, I don't mind admitting that. But some of them have been brilliant. When we signed Noah Siddiqui, who has been excellent for us, and honestly, I thought he was a right back who could play centre mid. I'm not saying as good as these two, but the people that the players that I would liken him to are Kante and Caicedo. He's that type of player. He's not as good as them, but he's brilliant. And I didn't know much about him because, as I've just said, I thought he played in a different position, and he's a really, really good player. And him and Xhaka, I don't know whether you know this, for the last few games, both of them have been on yellow cards. So one more yellow card. And I was raging they didn't get it against Liverpool because I didn't care about Man City away. I said, get the yellow, miss Man City away. We're going to lose that game anyway, which we did, 3-0. They didn't get the yellow. And I was the only Man City away. I thought, well, we're not going to win this. My only worry was making sure those two didn't get a yellow card, and thankfully they didn't. But Siddiqui, everyone talks about Xhaka, and rightly so, but Siddiqui also, very, very good player. And your midfield is excellent. I'm glad those two are there.
Yeah. You were very, very smart. Your manager was against Man City, because when it looked like it was getting a little bit tasty in that second half, the first thing you did is pull them straight off. He kept them ready and available for the game on Sunday. But you're right, and we, the comment from Gene yesterday, one player we did forget is the goalkeeper. Because in the summer, when we were obviously looking for a goalkeeper, he was a player linked with Newcastle and a number of other top clubs as well. And then all of a sudden, Sunderland swoop in and get him, and he's proven to be one of the best performing goalkeepers in the Premier League this season. With the issues we've had with our goalkeepers at the moment, I think there's a few Newcastle fans that are a little bit jealous that you've got a keeper of that quality, and signing from NEC Nijmegen as well in Holland, which is plucking him from really nowhere and giving him this platform is unreal.
He's made a couple of mistakes, but some of the saves he's made have been brilliant. But he wasn't. We went for a guy called Marcin Bulka, who's a goalkeeper who ended up going out to Neom in Saudi Arabia. We went for Jordi Petrovic, who went to Bournemouth, I think. I'm not sure if we were as in for him as we thought, but it looked from the outside that Roofs was third choice, and he has been really, really good so far. But he has made the odd mistake because he's quite a young goalkeeper. But on your goalkeeping situation, the thing, Nick Pope also, he really kept you in a lot of games, not kept you in a lot of games, maybe even kept you winning games. You know what I mean? He made some brilliant saves for you. But then there was just certain times you think, oh, what are you doing? And we know there's a couple of big moments like that. And I also think that Aaron Ramsdale is an excellent goalkeeper as well. So I actually think you're well stocked in that department. And whoever was in goal on Sunday, whether it's Pope or Ramsdale, I'd still think Newcastle have got a good goalkeeper. I don't think it's a weak position for you. I was speaking to a mate of mine today. I didn't watch your game last night, but one of my mates, Newcastle fan, said that he hasn't been convinced by Ramsdale yet. Is that the general feeling? Because I really like him. I rate him.
Boys.
Yeah, I think that's what we even said that last night. This is his chance. He's been waiting in the wings, waiting for Pope. Pope made the start of the season really well. Then started to make a few mistakes. So Ramsdale comes in, even though kind of the decision was made for Eddie Howe because Pope was injured. He's taken his chance. He's fluffed at a few things. He's made some saves as well. But there's certain goals that have gone in, especially the bicycle kick against Spurs, that we would have said Pope would have saved that. Now Pope might have done other things wrong, especially in the kick in front or distribution wise. But I think we're kind of thinking with this summer we need to go for and someone else, someone either someone experienced or someone young. But we need an upgrade in the goalkeeping department in the summer. Nothing will happen in January.
Yeah, it's a funny one, Tom, because in terms of distribution and in terms of players playing the ball to Ramsdale, to his feet, he's great. He's really, really good. But when it comes to commanding the area, when it comes to coming for crosses, he's not as good as Pope. Pete made a really good point last night, actually, when we did our reaction show, in that if you could blend Adam Ramsdale and Nick Pope, you'd have one hell of a goalkeeper. But sadly, they for all of Pope's strengths, his weaknesses, that is what Adam Ramsdale's strengths are, but then his weaknesses are Pope's strengths. So Daz is right. I think we still need to go out and sign that big number one, because in this modern day, you need a goalkeeper who's a bit of an all-rounder. And again, to quote another I can't stop quoting Mackams. To quote another one, the most all-round goalkeeper I would say at the moment is probably Jordan Pickford. Somebody who is a good shot stopper, somebody who commands his area, and somebody who's good with his feet and his distribution. And I know I've seen Pete with his hands on his head there, but
get him off. We can't do this.
Sure you're not an Everton fan, Chris?
I can't stand them. Trust me, I can't stand them. But having watched them a fair bit, I used to argue Pope was better than Pickford. We are this balloons. I used to argue Pope was better than Pickford, but he's not.
I only like Jordan Pickford.
We love Pickford, but he did have a bad game against you a couple of Saturdays ago, didn't he? He was actually at that last derby. We were in the at post match that we both got invited into the boardroom. So I was with him in the boardroom actually, and I just took it. Listen, they're in the Premier League, we're in the Championship. Me and the lads were all out in Durham on the last straight after this. I'm still gonna have a great day, great night. It's been a great weekend. He was crestfallen, absolutely crestfallen. I mean, he is as Sunderland as they come, believe you me. And I Sunderland fans love him. I think he's brilliant. I think everything you've just said about him is fair, but I do understand why you all don't like him.
I do like Jordan Pickford, but only for 4 weeks every 2 years. For those 4 weeks every 2 years, we get behind him and we back him when he's wearing those 3 lions, but other than that, it can't possibly happen. Tom, we'll talk a little bit about Newcastle United. Obviously, it's been a bit of an up and down start to this season. We've started to pick up a little bit of form, particularly in the Premier League, in the build up to this game. What have you made of Newcastle United's start to this season? Obviously, there's a few Newcastle fans, a few in the chat as well, that are questioning the manager Eddie Howe, questioning sort of whether we're going to be able to maintain a fight for European football this season. There's a few that concern, a few that back. There's a lot, I'd say, not a few, that back the manager and believe we will get back up to challenging for European football. Where do you sit with this? Obviously, as an outsider with Newcastle United, obviously when you're reporting, you do cover Newcastle United from time to time. So, what's your thoughts on Newcastle United's season so far? I
think you are. The last few weeks, I've said, all right, Newcastle have clicked, but then you'll have a bad result, all right? And I think, okay, well, they haven't clicked yet, but you will click. Your team is very, very good. In fact, I think your squad is very, very good. Your manager is excellent. I understand people question Eddie Howe, but at the same time, I certainly wouldn't be questioning Eddie Howe if I was a Newcastle fan. I can see that there are a few things where I can think, okay, I think he probably needs to improve on that. Okay, I can get that. But in terms of changing him, if I was a Newcastle fan, absolutely no chance. I think he's the most important person at your football club, if I'm honest. I think he is. That's my opinion as a neutral, if you can call me that. But you're not having a bad season. I did expect you to be doing better, but I do think that clicking is just around the corner. And I do think that you will end up finishing. I've said I think you'll finish 5th. And if 5th, like last season's Champions League place, I mean, you'll take that. I don't think there's any point in playing the rest of the League Cup. I think you'll win the League Cup. I 100%. I think you'll win the League Cup.
You could come again, Tom. You can come
again. Another trophy, an FA Cup. It's too early to say with the FA Cup. I think you'll win the league. I think you'll win the League Cup, and I do think that you'll get up to 5th. I think that you will. I just think it's about. I know you didn't. That's the thing. You didn't make that many changes from last season, but it has taken a little bit of more time than I expected to. You shouldn't really have to take time to click. That's a bit of a question mark, but I think you are close to it, and when you do, I just think you'll rise up the table. I mean, you're not points wise, you're not far off. You're probably not that far off 5th anyway, in that sense. And you might even spend in January. But I do think you've got a good squad and a good manager. And you've also got a settled squad and a settled manager. I think you're going to end up still having a very good season.
Yeah, it's nice to get that perspective, lads. Obviously, from someone that's not a Newcastle fan, holds even more weight coming from the other side of the derby. Really, having that conversation. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot with regards to Eddie Howe and the club. So it's something that we've exhausted in our conversations. That is for sure. But a few questions, Tom, before we get to the sort of the tactics board and getting your prediction. Are there any questions, lads, in the chat? I did see some early on, but I've not managed to keep an eye on it recently. But any that have popped up?
Yeah, absolutely. Just before I go to the questions, just a big shout out to Jamie Bruton for becoming a member. Thank you very much, Jamie. Much appreciated, mate. Thank you. Right. Let's see. Oh, I like this one from Jolly Soon for Life. So Jolly Soon for Life asks you, Tom, do you and Pete have a bet on for the 2 league games? And if so, are you or Pete worried?
We do not have a bet on because that cheeky git, you know what he did last time, don't you?
Yes, we do.
No matter how many times he publicly said that. So he said for anyone, and you just said you got a new member there. So for anyone there, so last time we played, he put on Twitter to his hundreds of thousands of followers, yeah. Tom says he'll wear a Newcastle shirt if Newcastle win. Absolute, but it just didn't happen. It didn't happen, right? I was like, Pete, everyone's on at me here. Anyway, he has many times publicly said Tom didn't say that. I was just winding him up. But anyway, so we have not got a bet on it. But I was with him. We went for a few drinks last Wednesday afternoon, and we do both feel exactly the same about this derby. We're both very nervous about it. I'm not sure if he said he would take a draw actually, but it seemed the way that we both were worried about it. Neither of us are mega confident. We also don't think, one of us are definitely going to lose. So our feelings on it are actually quite similar. But any bets on it, no. And if I did have a bet on it, I would be worried.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, I've got to quickly whiz to these. So Dunnell is back with loathers, and he's become a member. Thank you very much, Dunnell. And also big shout out to Morso, who's been a member for 47 months. So thank you very much, Morso. And Jamie, who says, I'm not a new member, but he has been a member for 41 months. So thank you very much, Jamie. Much appreciated. Right, let me see. This one, Tom, from Benny Boy. Benny Boy asks you, Tom, do you think Chris Rigg has a long-term future with Sunderland, given how much better your squad is now compared to last season?
Yeah, I think he does. He's actually we signed in the summer. We broke our transfer. Well, we broke our transfer record twice, but our transfer record now is a guy called Habib Diarra, and he played the first 2, maybe 3 games, and certainly, I mean, he looked brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Then got injured in training or maybe even international, and he's been out ever since. And he goes to Africa. He's managed to get fit in time to go to Africa Cup of Nations on Monday. And
you know what about that?
Maybe he'll be on the bench on Sunday, but very, very unlikely to feature. And when he got injured, in fairness, they just swapped him with Chris Rigg. And Chris Rigg was playing, and he was, was doing quite well. And then changed the system, which didn't fit Chris Rigg. And sometimes Chris Rigg comes on as a sub in the wrong position. I do think he's got a long-term future at Sunderland. He looks like a very, very good player. He played a lot in the Championship, so he's got games under his belt at his age. Not many people have that. Same thing as we did with Joe Bellingham. But this season, lately, he's not been playing as much. I do think he's got a long-term future. I just think he's not maybe being looked after. He is getting a bit looked after right now and not throwing him in. I expect to see more of him in the second half of the season or maybe the final third of the season. But yes, long-term future, I do believe that until someone comes in with big money, because they're not secret at Sunderland. If someone comes in with big money for a player, they'll let them go. And that would be the same with Chris Rigg. But he's got to play more to get his value up.
Yeah. Okay. Being Laney has asked you, Tom, which player are you most worried about losing their head in the derby?
Losing their head, maybe Reynildo. Got a left back, Mozambique. He was at Atletico Madrid, very, very Diego Simeone type defender. He's not an attacking left back. He is a defender, and he knows the dark arts. But he lost his head against Aston Villa. He kicked out and got sent off and was suspended for 3 games. But VAR were right to send him off, actually. He kicked out. So even though he's got that kind of Diego Simeone mentality of defend and be clever with it, the dark arts, he got caught out there. He lost his head. And he's the only player I've seen this season lose their heads. So I'd be more worried about him. You've also got, not in terms of losing their heads, but Trey Hume is a very, very, very tough tackler. And in the Premier League, if you are a millisecond late, you're going to get done by VAR. Yeah. So Reynildo won, but maybe Trey Hume as well.
I was going to say, when was he at Real Madrid? Did he do the stadium tour? Was Atletico Madrid he was at?
Yeah. Did I say sorry? I meant Atletico. Sorry,
because I didn't realize he was in Madrid at all.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, he was at Atletico Madrid under Simeone.
Simeone, cool.
Yeah, another good signing.
He was free.
Wow, what was it free?
He was free.
Yeah, what a signing. Let me see, Tom. 2 more for you, mate. I'll save that one for the last. Gene Esteban asks you, what's Kivell's long-term ambitions for the club?
Well, it's a brilliant question, because when he took over in League One, he was very much, sustainable club. We do things right. He didn't spend a lot of money in League One. It was actually the owners before him that spent money that I don't think they had. Whereas this guy does have money, and he spent it very wisely. He spent it on players whose value were going to go up, sell, make the profit, put it back into the club, and do it that way. Championship did the same thing. We've got up to the Premier League, and I thought, okay, well, that's the way it is. But now I'm thinking that he's a lot more ambitious than I thought. I don't know if you saw, you probably didn't see, but when we played Everton on Monday Night Football, maybe a month and a half ago, he actually gave a very rare interview with Monday Night Football. Dave Jones, the presenter, used to be a director at Sunderland. So Kirill Louis-Dreyfus did an interview with Dave Jones. And he said, he was asked about the money he spent. And he said, if it gets to January and I think we've got a genuine chance of finishing the top 10, I'll spend again. So that sounded to me like his ambition was top 10. And that's short term. That's this season.
Yeah.
So I've got to say I was very impressed with that, because I wasn't expecting that. So I think his long term ambitions, I think they're high. I think he's got lofty ambitions.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to have an ambitious owner. I mean, you'll know, Tom, we had a very unambitious owner before we had our recent owners. And yeah, it makes all the difference, doesn't it? Particularly as a fan, because, as football fans, you all want to dream. You just want to try and be the best that you can be. And when you've got an owner who shares that same ambition, then it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we like our owner, we like our manager, we like our squad. But Monday morning, I might hate them all. I might hate the whole Monday morning.
And we hope you do, Tom. We hope you do.
That's how football fans work. You know, one bad thing, I hate the lot of them.
We hope your Tuesday is good, though. It's just the Monday.
So last question, Tom, and I think people like this one because it leads us nicely, I think, into the next section. And it comes from David Tofield. And David Tofield says, Tom, how does Sunderland set up at home? Do you hit on the break or do you press?
We at home, it'll be. I'm very much expecting it to be 4-3-3 on Sunday. We always let the opposition have the ball. So when it says hit on the break or press, it's actually both. Our when we don't have the ball, when you've got the ball like at the back, our striker and more advanced midfielder, I wouldn't say number 10, but more advanced midfielder will press. They will press. But then as soon as you beat that press, we get back, we sit back, you have the ball, and then we look to play on the break. So it's actually both. But we will sit back. We will let you have the ball.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very, very interesting. And you're right. It builds us nicely into the tactics board. So I put the tactics board on the screen. Tom, we always ask this from our opposition guests, and hopefully you'll be able to see it in a second if it's on the screen. I can't see the screen now, so hopefully is the tactics board up?
Yeah, it's there. Yes.
So Tom, we ask you to pick the 11 that you think will start the game on Sunday. So from the goalkeeper through to, I think you said 4-3-3. Is that right?
I think it will be at home. We often play 5 at the back. I've got a feeling in a derby it'll go 4-3-3. That's what I think.
Okay. So give us you've got the whole squad here to play along with, from the goalkeeper all the way through at the bottom of the screen. So I'm assuming your new goalkeeper will be in the sticks.
Ruffs will be Robin Ruffs will be in goal.
But then talk us through your back line.
Yeah, so this is not necessarily what I would. This is what I think it will be, as opposed to, like, if I was picking my favourite 11, it'll be Mukiele right back. But he's been brilliant, that guy. He's been really, really good, Mukiele. I thought he might have been a bit kind of fail at PSG and falls off a cliff. He's been really, really good. He's the one I think will end up selling for big money,
Wow.
Do you want centre backs or left back next? What do you want?
Whichever.
It'll be. I think the centre backs will be Ballard, then Alderete, and left back Reynildo is what I'm expecting. So Alderete there, and Reynildo. Alderete made a brilliant start, but then he got Reynildo. Oh, his name's Reynildo Mandava.
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
It
was when you just before you said it, I thought actually I put his full name in when I did the squad, so that's why I couldn't recognize it.
It is a lot of like it is. Alderete started really well, but he got a concussion, and it must have been a bad one because he was out for about a month, and then he came back to fitness, went on into international duty. I don't know if you know this. He went on international duty, and he was on the bench, didn't get on, but still got a red card. Had a little got involved in a brawl on the touchline and got a red card.
I didn't know
that was on international duty.
Jesus Christ!
So he might lose his head as well, Tom. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I hope not. He's a good player, left-footed centre back. Alderete, good player. Good player.
Sit him next to Joe Linton. It'd be grand.
God, yeah. There's other options there, but that's what I think it'll be. So I mentioned Hume earlier. I love Trey Hume, but I don't think Trey Hume's going to start.
Okay. Interesting. Talk through your midfield then. Who's your midfield 3?
Yeah, the defensive one will be Xhaka.
Yeah. The main man.
And Yeah, and in front of him, you've got Siddiqui.
Siddiqui on the right or the left, or
yeah, put in there. He drifts to the left, but for the purpose of this, it doesn't really matter. Because it's not a number 10. The next player is going to be kind of next to him, so it doesn't really matter. And this is where it gets a little bit more confusing. By the way, even though Xhaka's deep there, Xhaka often finds himself up as the most advanced of those midfielders. They're very fluid. You know, it's putting it down like this.
High? Does he press quite high when you're pressing the ball?
Yeah, Xhaka just takes control.
Yeah,
he just takes control, and if he feels he needs to be up the pitch, he goes, and the manager trusts him to do that. And this is it. So it would be Habib Diarra, but he's injured. So this next one is actually a little bit more difficult. Put Enzo Lefebvre there, but Lefebvre often goes left.
Okay.
So this is where it's a bit. This is where you kind of guess. Right wing will I expect to be Traore, so Bertrand Traore.
Somewhere. There we go.
Yeah, there he is. Now he's quite good. He just
on the right or left.
He's right. He's left-footed, but he plays on the right. He scored the other week actually against Brentford. He can be quite frustrating because he's clearly a good player, but sometimes, and you might see this on Sunday, sometimes he just misses the ball. Honestly, he just goes to kick the ball and misses it. and he's a Premier League international player.
Yeah.
Now left wing, you might go for a Dingra, but I think it's going to be Talby. It's that number 7, Talby.
Okay, interesting.
I think it's going to be him. Now he started the season on the right wing, but he's naturally a left winger, and I think he sometimes played wing back for us. I've got a funny feeling he's going to be on the left. If it's not him on the left, it could be a Dingra, but he hasn't been starting. There is a possibility that Lefebvre goes on the left and Rig goes into midfield. That's a possibility. And up front, I think it's going to be Brobby. Isidor's been starting. He's our top scorer, but he hasn't scored for a while. So I think it'll be Brobby.
Yeah, Brobby's been cut off the bench and impacting when he has been coming on as well, hasn't he? He's been doing okay. So, yeah, decent striker. So, right. So there's our team. There's the team that we could be playing against, lads, on Sunday. Now, I am mindful that I think our time has about run out with Tom. So, first of all, a massive thanks, Tom, for coming on and joining us this evening. It's amazing. We love chatting to you. Thank you for taking the time to come back on again. Just before you go, would you care to give us your prediction for Sunday's game? What do you think it will be come 5 o'clock Sunday evening?
Last time I was on, I remember saying on this, Newcastle will win comfortably, but I think I just said a Newcastle player will get a red card. I think that's what I said on this. With others, I said Newcastle will win 3-0, which you did. And I said that Bruno Guimaraes would be sent off, right? So I went a bit more detail in private. I said you'd win comfortably and you'd have a player sent off. I was right on one of them. Guimaraes, by the way, has proven it. Guimaraes is a brilliant player, but I thought he was a walking red card. Actually, he's a lot cleverer than I thought. A lot cleverer. Fair play to him. He doesn't get the red cards. He plays very, very well and is very, very sensible. Clever player, excellent player. I do think that you're going to edge it, and I'll give you my reason. I just think that when it's a big game, Eddie Howe gets it right. And this is a big game. Cup final against Liverpool. There's only one team on that pitch. When it's a big game that you need to win, Eddie Howe makes sure that you win. So I'm going to predict that you will win, but I am going to say that it's not going to be as comfortable as 3-0. So there's my prediction. I think you'll win it by 1 goal. There you go. That's as good as you're going to get.
Okay, yeah, we can read between the lines on that one, and we will just discuss it because we'll continue to do our 11 and see the show out. But Tom, absolute pleasure. Best of luck.
Cheers, Tom.
You don't mean that. You don't mean that.
Yeah, we're always nice. We always do the niceties. But in all seriousness, we hope we have a horrible Monday afterwards, and I hope we're celebrating. But look, Great to have you on, mate. Thank you so much.
No, always a pleasure. And I'll come if we win. I'll come back on in March.
Enjoy Christmas as well, Tom.
And I also won't be invited if we win. Merry Christmas, lads.
Merry Christmas.
See you later, Tom. Good luck,
man. Take care, Tom.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant guest. Love Tom. Obviously, he's a rival this weekend, but no, generally great guy. And look, very, very honest as well. Talk quite positively about Newcastle United, positively than maybe some of our fan base. But it's nice to hear a different perspective on Newcastle United as well. But we're not done, guys. We're not done because we have some decisions to make. So we'll get the tactics board back up. There we go.
It's back.
I'll switch up onto the screen. We'll switch over to the team that we all want to see. And yes, just before we get started, though, Craig Hope did break some news earlier on this evening. He has said that there is a chance that Nick Pope is available on Sunday, and that there's a chance Nick Pope may start on Sunday. Just throwing that out there. It might not happen, but it almost looks a bit 50-50 at the moment. Louis Miley. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there before you guys pick your team. So, lads, who's going to be the 11 to create history?
Start us off, Chris. This is your baby.
Yeah, go on, mate. Okay. So I think I did see the news on Pope, but I think Adam Ramsdale will start and goal. Okay. And the reason I say that is because I think Eddie Howe leaves himself wide open if he starts Nick Pope, and Nick Pope, as a howler, because then that would just cause absolute carnage. So for me, I still think he'll stick with Ramsdale. Not to say that Pope won't come back in soon, but I just wonder whether this is too soon. And do you throw a keeper in who hasn't played for 3 or 4 games in the derby? I'm not sure that you do that. So for me, I think he will stick with Adam Ramsdale. Wing backs or full backs, nice and easy for me. It's going to be Lewis Hall on the left, and it's going to be Tino Livramento on the right.
Yeah. Oh, what am I doing? No.
I was going to say other way.
I was right the first time. Yeah. Sorry.
You were. Now, my preference would be to start Malik Chow on the left and have Fabian Schär on the right, but that isn't what will happen. I think it will be Dan Burn on the left side of the centre-back pairing, and I think it will be Malik Chow on the right-hand side. But me personally, I would prefer to start Malik Chow on the left and have Fabian Schär on the right, but that's just me. Don't know whether you agree with that or not, Daz. You can let me know. In the holding position, and do you know what? I was toying with this as well. But I'm gonna pinch a phrase off Tom. I think this will be quite fluid, but I'll tell you with how I think it will start. But I'm not saying that it won't change. In the holding position, we'll go with Sandro Tonali.
Yeah. Need a game from Sandro. Weren't his best game yesterday. He's been a bit hit and miss with form. We definitely need a game from him on Sunday.
Absolutely, mate. On the right, I think it will be Bruno Guimaraes. And on the left, it goes without saying, boys, I think, and it should be, Louis Miley on the left-hand side of that central midfield. Exactly, Dazzler. Exactly. Front three, a little bit more difficult. For me, and I think it's incredibly harsh, but I think it has to be done. I think it will be on the right. Oh, yeah, so let's go left because that's easiest. On the left, it will be Anthony Gordon. Yeah. Through the middle will be Nick Voltemar there. Now, the right-hand side is the issue. Because for me, I don't think, and that's just why I'm saying it's harsh, I don't think it should be Harvey Barnes. Because I don't think Harvey Barnes should be playing on the right wing, which means I'm not putting him in the 11, which is harsh. But on the right, I think for the work rate, obviously for the balls in the box, I think he'll go with Jacob Murphy.
Yeah,
that's what I think it will be.
Okay. So the 11 is out. Now it's agree, chop and change.
He's dying to press that button. He's got his finger on it.
I do have a finger on it. But I don't. I was debating whether to use it or not, Chris, because you've made some great points here, and I could see this being the starting lineup for sure. Let me, if I go through, in goal, I think if Eddie was fully confident in Pope, that Pope is fully recovered from that groin injury, he put him back in goal. But you make a good point though. He leaves himself kind of open for it then. So we're going to see Pope then in the game against Fulham at the home game in the League Cup, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, look, I'm going to stick with Ramsdale in there with your selection, and I'm going to stick with your backline as well because he's definitely playing Dan Burn. He's brain dead if he doesn't play Livramento and Hall. Malik Chow is not. The only thing, the way he wouldn't play Malik Chow is something to do with fatigue or something like that. But look, I would like to see Fabian Schär in there in some capacity, but I think that's what he's going to go with this as well. You're spot on with the midfield. Definitely has to be Louis Miley, as we said all the way through the show last night. And the previous show the week before. Tonali in the number 6 position and Bruno where he is there as well on the right. And then it is really a toss-up between Gordon and Barnes. I would be happy with either because Gordon has hit the post on his last 2 games for us. And Barnes has been banging them in, and he didn't start against Burnley, but he played he came off as a sub last night. But so I'm happy with either option there, to tell you the truth. So whatever, but I don't want Barnes on the right. I'd say that's like you said, and with Murphy, look, he does get the ball in the box. Maybe they can be in a Newcastle fan. Automatically, if we're in an away game, I'd be saying no. But with it being a Newcastle fan, it may raise his levels again. Also, equally, Elanga with his pace could do something. We're still waiting for something to get us off our seats with Elanga, even though he's been gradually showing signs, but not completely yet. But look, I'm happy to go up Murphy, and Big Nick picks himself up. So I'm not actually disagreeing with anything you picked, Chris, but I just wanted to press the buzzer right now.
And why not, mate? And why not? But Pete, where are you with this? The Barnes decision was a difficult one. And also, Pete, I wanted to add in when I was talking about Nick and Tom's phrase of fluidity, the reason why I paused for a moment, because I did think to myself for a second, I wonder if he plays Louis Miley in that holding position and lets Sandro venture further forward. I don't know. But I think he will probably start with Sandro in that holding position. And I certainly don't want it to be too fluid because I don't want to see Bruno in that number 6 position. I think we're all agreed on that. Yeah. But what do you think, Pete?
Yeah, look, I've not got an issue with that lineup at all going into the game. For me, he'll want as many Newcastle fans on the pitch as possible or people that have got connections with the club. So Dan Burn is a shoe-in. Lewis Forward is a shoe-in. Louis Miley will come back to, but definitely Jacob Murphy for that reason. I want Louis Miley to start. I just don't think he will.
Wow.
I just don't think Eddie Howe will. Look, I said it last night. I think he's ready to play. I think for the reason I've just said is that it's a Geordie lad. He knows the club. He knows what it means to play in this derby, and I think he's ready for it. He's ready to step up and play this big game because he's played many. But I've just got a feeling he's going to go with Joe Linton again. I think if Joe Linton proves his fitness, I think he starts. I think it would be the wrong decision, but I think that's what he would do, and I think he would do it to almost combat the work rate and the physicality of Xhaka and Siddiqui in the midfield. and I think that's what he'll go. That's what he'll go for. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with it. It would be my choice, but that's what I think. I think he'd take Miley out and put Joelinton in. But I'm going to keep Miley there because that's what I prefer. The other one is that if he's fit, he plays. Now, again, not my choice necessarily. However, lads, the one thing that may well be in the back of his mind is set pieces. Because Sunderland don't score many goals. But if you've seen him in games, they will plough players forward, use set pieces, free kicks, corners to just bombard players into the box and try and get something in there. We can't defend set pieces at this moment in time. So we're going to need somebody that's able to command his area.
Yeah.
I think Pope can do that. And I think if he makes that decision, again, I have to stress, not necessarily my choice, but if he does make that decision, that will be why. It will be to take some pressure off the defenders defending set pieces and allow Pope to come out and try and collect and dominate because he can. And when he does it, it does take a lot of pressure off the defenders. He is very good at doing it, and it does help the team. Obviously, we know his kicking and his distribution is not good, but is it really the game for that? Is it really the game for possession-based distribution, keeping the ball tight in your defensive areas? It's going to be all action. It's going to be blood and thunder. It's going to be all at it for 90-plus minutes. It might not necessarily be the game for that. And that's why, maybe thinking about it, after last night, kind of getting the match out of the way, out of my mind and looking ahead, it's probably why I think he might well go Joelinton, if fit, is that physicality, that battle. Someone said it's going to be a war in the chat earlier on in the show, and I think it will be. And you want, if there's one player you want in a war, it's probably Joelinton, because it does kind of fit his type of game. If you're going to go into a war, you're going to go into a battle, you want him there. And I think the physicality and the dominating presence of Pope could well be the difference. And as well, let's be honest, like, you want someone to make a worldy save if they create just that one chance, and you want someone to make a worldy save, you're probably putting your money on Nick Pope to do it. And they're kind of my reasonings of why I think the team might be that, not necessarily that I want it. I think it'll be incredibly harsh on Barnes not to start, but I understand why Jacob Murphy would start this particular game. My only concern about Jacob Murphy, he hasn't played well away from home for a long while.
No.
And whether it will change in the derby, who knows? But I hope it does if he does start. Or otherwise, if it's not Jacob Murphy, it has to be Harvey Barnes. He's not the best on the right hand side, but he's a goal threat. And you know, if I did this really quickly, and I'll move it back in just a second, lads, because I think Murphy will probably start, but Barnes won't just stick here. He can make runs here, diagonal. He can find little paces and pockets. He even did it in the first half. There was a time where Gordon was on the counter attack and he makes the run behind Gordon into that area, and the move breaks down, but he will make runs. He'll end up in that position. He'll end up beyond Voltemada, and I think he would be a good fit for that role. But like I say, for the sake of the argument, I think Jacob Murphy could start the game for other reasons. But yeah, I don't know what you boys think of that. That's just kind of my thoughts. Everything else should be as is.
No, I guess I see where you're going with Pete. I really hope it's not Joelinton starting though. I know the physicality aspect, also the danger of the early yellow card and walking on eggshells for the rest of the game. But I suppose then you could switch in Miley then. But the other thing is we want to see Wisa more as well, because we noted last night how Nick Voltemade was running on fumes towards the end of the game. So does he have another 90 minutes in him? We want to see And it was pointed out today that Wisa was suffering from an illness, so that's probably why we didn't see more of him last night. So maybe we can get a better taste of Wisa in this game as well, especially if we need to change things up or it's fairly close, or even if we're running away with it. We still want Wisa on to get a few minutes and get some mileage in.
Daz, to be fair, he would have had another week's worth of training under his belt. He only played 2 or 3 minutes at the back end of yesterday. Really, he had 15 minutes against Burnley. He should be up in his minutes now. He should be getting 20, 25 minutes, really, in all honesty, in that second half, to really kind of get to grips with the game. Because you can't really get into a game. To be fair, I was surprised he had as much involvement as he did against Burnley. He did nothing against Leverkusen because he never had the chance to. What you want is a little bit more of a body of work for 20, 25 minutes to actually give him an opportunity, give him that 5-10 minutes to get into the game and then be able to affect it. Because I think he can. He's got that ability. If we're 1-0 up or something, or it's still tight at 0-0, for example, or 1-1, and we're still looking to get something in the game, you'd back Wisa on the counter to nick us something, a fox in the box to pop up with a ball into the box and him nick something. You'd back him to do it, but he needs enough time to get into the game to be able to do it.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. The other thing I mentioned is about the Harvey Barnes. Is I think Newcastle will go all out to get the early goal. I think they'll go look, and Harvey Barnes is one of your guys. He's a guy that will pop up out of nowhere and get you an early goal, a bit like he did against Marseille. So that might be another reason for it, but. We'll see, boys. Look, I've not got an issue with that lineup. To be fair, I think that lineup's absolutely fine. And I've changed Nick Pope, so like say for the sake of argument, I'll take him out and put Ramsdale in. But I've not got an issue with this lineup anyway. Dan Burn. Some people are saying Dan Burn shouldn't be in the team. It's up for argument, but he's going to start. He's going to start. He's going to play. So there's no argument. Sorry.
A question, boys. Let's say we're 1-0 up and it's the 70th minute. I know the answer here. I'm just throwing this out. Devil's advocate. Are you bringing on Fabian Schär and going back five? I'm definitely not, by the way, because this is what we've seen before to try and close out games, and we saw what happened. So we keep it going gung-ho to get that second is the answer.
Mate, 100%. I think I went on a bit of a rant last night saying, for me, I want us to go 1-0 up. And I almost want the players to forget the 1-0 up and start from scratch again. Make it 2, make it 3. I don't want us to go 1-0 up and then start defending and trying to keep hold of what we've got. Let's just keep scoring. I'm not suggesting we go back to the Keegan days where we demand 3, 4, 5, 6. But let's put the game to bed, and then you can start shutting up shop, knowing that you've got a comfortable at least 2, if not 3 goal lead. Daz, I love a devil's advocate. I love it. Someone put it in the chat earlier, and I thought it was a good point. It made me think it anyway. If Harvey Barnes, the other option, and I'm just throwing this out there to see what you boys think. Do you think there's any chance that Anthony Gordon starts through the middle and Harvey Barnes plays on the left? And the reason I say that is because Nick Voltemade looks tired, boys. Really, really tired. And this game is going to be like a game that he probably hasn't played in. And I'm not suggesting he hasn't played in a derby before, but what I mean is a physical derby in the Premier League is a lot different to a derby in the Bundesliga. Do you think that Eddie Howe at any point? I mean, Eddie Howe, you would think Eddie Howe saw the Harvey Barnes performance last night and was like, yeah, Harvey Barnes can't play on the right. So do you think there's any possibility? Go on, Daz, go on, mate.
Yeah, no, I thought that too when we were going through the team, and I thought, yeah, he could move Gordon there. And then I thought, well, hang on, we now have 2 strikers. Why wouldn't we play 1? And every time Gordon plays as a striker, I remember keep saying, stick him on the left. That's where his best position is. He can't, even though he thinks he can play up front, I don't think he can play up front. So no is the answer. It'd be only if we didn't have a Wisa that I would be saying, yeah, maybe that we'd go for something like that then and have Barnes and Gordon we'll play Gordon up front and have Nick Voltermada on the bench to bring on because he's tired, let's say. But no, not in this situation.
No. What about you, Pete? I mean, if Johan Visser, fast forward 4 weeks, if this game was in 4 weeks' time, Daz is right. You know, Johan Visser plays through the middle, but given the fact that Johan Visser probably isn't ready to start, or we assume he's not ready to start, given there's a possibility of playing Gordon through the middle, I'm not saying, by the way, for anyone wondering, I'm not saying let's start Anthony Gordon through the middle. I don't want Anthony Gordon to start through the middle, but I'm just thinking in terms of that Nick Voltermada performance, which you highlighted, Pete, yesterday, saying, you know, it was a poor game from Nick Voltermada. Will Eddie Howe have that in the back of his mind? And also the fact it's a derby?
Because of the level of how big the game is, I think it wouldn't be a good look to not have Nick Voltermada starting the game. As fit as he is, as tired as he is, I think a couple of things. He'll want to play in this game.
Yeah, he will.
It'll be one of our biggest games of the season. You'd be mad if he'd be the one saying, "Oh yeah, I think I might need a rest in this game." He'll want to be playing in this game. He'll be bang up for it, right? And secondly, that experiment with Gordon's done for me. We've got Wissa back now. We don't need to be playing Gordon through the middle. He's not a striker. He doesn't offer anything that a striker offers other than running and intensity. The things that we want a striker to do is make intelligent runs in and behind, get on the end of things and score goals. Like, he doesn't provide those things. And so for me, that experiment's done. For me, the way I see it, really simply, and I talked about Wissa a minute ago, is I see Nick Voltermada being told by Eddie Howe, give me everything you got, 60, 65 minutes, and then let Wissa come on and do the rest. And he'll be saying that. And it reminds me very much of what we did when we managed Alexander Isak when he was playing week in, week out. It was a case of, give me 60, 65 minutes, come off, and let Wilson come on and do the rest. And that's what it will be. He'll work that way. And this is why I think it's really important on Sunday that Johan Wissa starts to get more minutes under his belt, because what you will then start to find is that the more games he starts to play and the more he builds up his minutes, it may well flip and turn the other way. And that Johan Wissa will eventually start and do 60, 65 minutes, and then Nick Voltermada will come on and do the rest. And that's hopefully how it will work, and they'll be able to work in tandem at that point when he's properly up to fitness. And we'll probably only really start to see that in January. Probably start to see that in the January matches when we have a lot of Premier League matches mixed with a couple of Champions League. I think that's when we'll really start to see those two work in tandem and work together in terms of one taking the starting berth and one coming off the bench, etc. So that's how I see it. I don't see Anthony Gordon playing through the middle. He's a left winger. Let him play on the left wing. He had a brilliant second half after a really poor first half. You know, I could sit here and argue that Harvey Barnes deserves to start, and I was frustrated that Barnes wasn't on the left, but ultimately Anthony Gordon was superb second half, so he's almost played his way into being the guy to start on that left hand side. I do feel that he needs to be playing where he's going to produce his best football, which is on the left, and that's where he needs to stay now. So Gordon on the left for me, Nick Voltermada starting through the middle with Wissa coming off the bench, and then it's a free for all whatever happens on that right hand side, because it could be any one of the other three, Barnes, Elanga, or Murphy. To be fair, I wouldn't be frustrated, angry, or annoyed no matter which one gets picked, if I'm being honest. Because say Barnes doesn't get picked and it's Murphy, Barnes can come off and be an impact, and we know he can do that off the bench, and be another option off the bench to give them something different to deal with later on in the game. So that could be an option too. So it's not bad having some options in the squad, is it, to talk about rather than the same 11 every week? So yeah.
Not bad at all. I'm going to remove the tactics board for a second, Pete, because I did see something else today, boys. Because we found having Tom on, we had some common ground on things as well. Tom, again, a great guest. Always great when we get Tom on. But it's one of this thing. I'm not sure if you saw this today, but I thought this was funny. Have a look at this. Fair play. Nicely played.
I did see it. I saw it yesterday. It did make me. At first, I watched it. I was like, I wasn't happy because I thought they were taking the mick out of hers.
Yeah.
So I listened to it again.
So right.
They're taking the mick out of Isaac. So I'm a bit like, okay, fair enough. We'll shake on that. Fair.
He can come back on again next week.
Yeah. I agree, but no, it's funny. It's probably the one time we maybe have a common understanding with the Sunderland fan with regards to that when they're even they're taking the mick out of Alexander Isak. But obviously, it did affect us in the summer when that happened. So that's probably where he's getting a little sly dig in. So yeah. Any other questions before I bring up one more topic before we wrap, lads?
I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling one of the questions I'm going to bring up might be the topic that you might be bringing up, because I didn't, and Pete, like we say this all the time, don't we? Yeah, I'm giving a big intro. It probably won't even be that, but we have a thing, don't we, on Loads of Mag, and we always say that it feels like, like certain people watch, because we always have a discussion and then the next day or hours later, what we are discussing ends up being brought up, and I think this could be what you're talking about. But Sophie B says, and the Tino news. Is that what you're referring to, Pete?
It is, mate. It is. So Craig Hope with another exclusive. Tino Livramento's contract decision set to be delayed as Man City target Newcastle United defender. And when I read it, I was just like, Jesus Christ, because I literally said it last night. And I was like, what? Well, I just rather not say anything again, because I was worried. It was one of my biggest worries, alongside Tonali, until we heard Tonali's obviously contract was extended, and Botman, is that Tino Livramento in that Man City talk was not really ever going away. But I'll just read for people that haven't seen it or read it. It says Tino Livramento is set to delay any decision on a new contract until nearer the end of the season. Informal talks have taken place this month, and sporting director Ross Wilson has a good relationship with all involved, but Livramento's camp are minded to wait before committing to a new deal. His current terms expire in 2028, and there is a want from Newcastle's end to extend the length of his stay with an improved package, given his form and emergence as an England international. The 23-year-old, who has won 3 caps for his country, is happy on Tyneside and recognises the improvement made under Eddie Howe and his coaching staff. But with Man City retaining a strong interest, there is a feeling the player will leave his options open for the time being. City are known to have done extensive scouting work on Livramento, and Pep Guardiola using midfielder Mateus Nunes and centre-half Kusanov as right-back this season. An approach is expected in 2026. Should Newcastle recover their league position to finish in the Champions League places, Livramento could determine that a new deal and continued development at St. James's Park is the best way forward. For now, dialogue remains open, but the defender's long-term future is uncertain. So that's the news that came out today. And I'll be honest with you, lads, it kind of like a few things stood out to me. One of them was that him and his camp are deciding to delay. That worries me, because they're clearly getting some sort of conversation, not just from Newcastle, but from Man City. Doesn't mean he's going to sign for them, but it's worrying because they're going to continue to persist. The second thing was the talk of Champions League football. And it worries me that that's going to be kind of a deal breaker. And not just in Tino Livramento, but the same talk's happening with Sandro Tonali, and I just feel like it's going to be a deal breaker for a couple of players this summer, which is a big worry because I really, regardless of where we finish in the league, lads, we need a summer of settled nature. We can't have another upheaval summer again. That'll be 3 in a row. That's not what Newcastle United can't keep doing this as a club, and they need to make sure that does not happen. However they make it work, they can't afford to make it happen. What are your thoughts, boys?
You're right. We can't go through another summer like that again. It does have all the shades of the whole Isak situation, and I remember how many times we say as well, if we get Champions League, Isak's staying. Isak's going nowhere. But I'm going to err on the side of the positive side of things. I think maybe it's agents trying to get the best deal for their client as well. And I don't think Livramento is anything like Isak. He can see that there's more to develop into here at Newcastle, and more to before he does go on maybe further afield. So I just hope that he is sticking with us and going nowhere. But who knows? Who knows what is around the corner? He's won himself and Hall. Their positions for me are nailed down for Newcastle for the next 10 years. They are our future on the left and right wing, wing back position. But we'll see. Like there was rumors in the summer, of course, as well, and we know LB mentioned it as well when he was on with us that they were sniffing around him, and yeah, it's not gone away. And when I have watched City play, what are they playing your man there? That midfielder, they're trying to convert him into a right back, and that is not working for them. So yeah, hopefully he stays.
Chris, your thoughts on it?
Few things for me, mate. I'll be honest. A few things. So firstly, let's make it clear. Tino Livramento is an absolutely fantastic right back. Absolutely fantastic. And he can play left back. He's English. I think he's a very, very, very good player. There's nothing not to like about Tino Livramento. But what I will say is I still have the scars from the man we will not mention. And I will not be drawn into that again in terms of, in my head, saying, no, he's not going anywhere. No, I can't. Pete, you mentioned it at the end of the transfer window. I can't have that again. I can't. And as much as I love Tino Livramento and I think he's absolutely brilliant, at the same time, my sensible head is saying to myself, are we at Man City's level at the moment? No, we're not. So at the end of the day, we're going in the right direction. We will get there. However, if Tino Livramento wants to leave, if Man City really want Tino Livramento, if we end up selling him for north of 60, 70 million, I think we've just got to take it. Now, there is some caveats to this. So, firstly, for me, the first thing I thought, Pete, when you said it, was we can't have another summer like we have, when you mentioned that. Mm-hmm. If Tino Livramento is going, it has to happen quickly. It's got to be done quick. I don't want this to be dragged on and then him sold, the last week in August, first week in September. I don't want that. If Tino Livramento is not going to sign a new deal and we're parting ways, you get it done early. You get it done early and you start identifying who you want as a replacement. Somebody in the chat there put a few names in there, which again is interesting. And I'm not, saying, let's start looking at who we want to replace him. Genie Esther it was. Coyote from Brentford, Feyenoord, Reed, or Porto Fernandes. Let's be honest, boys, without downplaying Tino Livramento in any way, shape, or form, if you ask me what do I want to do, I want to keep Tino Livramento. It's moved out, but we lost Alexander Isak. We lost arguably one of, if not the best striker in Europe last season. We lost him. And if we can get over that, we can get over losing a very promising and very talented right back. We just can. But I just don't want it to be a long, drawn-out summer. If Newcastle need to be strong, we've now got a CEO in place. We've now got a director of football in place. They need to go to Man City and go, this is the price, and it happens then. If it doesn't happen then, he's not going anywhere. That needs to be made clear. We can't have another fiasco like we did last season. The thing that worries me, sorry, Pete, the last thing that worries me about this is, and I bought it, you know, for the majority of this season, Man City are playing Núñez at right back. That tells me that Pep has identified somebody and he's waiting for his man. And Tino Livramento he's like the young reincarnated Kyle Walker. That's what he is. Tino Livramento will be a fantastic right back for the next 5-10 years. He just will. And if Man City pay the money for him and Tino Livramento wants to go, then so be it. And I don't think there's anything that we can do. So we can agonise over it, we can worry over it, we can panic over it. There's nothing we can do. The only thing we can do as a club is secure Champions League football, to give him a decision to make. Because if we don't get Champions League football, he's gone. That's how I feel. He's gone. I think he'll go.
And just to add on to that, the big problem we've got next summer, to kind of come against what you just said, is that we've got a great big World Cup in the middle. And this is going to be a problem for us, is that it's either going to have to be sorted out instantly after the season finishes, when the players are about to go to the World Cup over in America. It's either going to have to be dealt with then, or signed a new contract then, and he's confirmed. So when he comes back after because let's be honest, once they've finished the World Cup, and I expect England to go at least a decent chunk into that competition, but then he's going to have his rest. So he's going to miss the start of pre-season, and then it's going to rumble on. You're looking at July, maybe even August, before Tino's even back in the squad and involved with us again. You don't want that to be then feeding into the squad and it becoming an issue when the team are trying to prepare for a new season. You don't want that to start being the talk like the Isak talk will be. Now, the one thing that's clear, we're going to have to break the bank for him. We're going to have to, in terms of what we pay centre-backs or full-backs, we're going to have to break the bank for him. And let's not kid ourselves. If we break the bank for him, it won't be long until Lewis Hall is asking for the same. But this is the reality, lads. This is the reality of playing at this level. This is the wages. Everyone's competing against each other. Lewis Hall can't just sit there on what he's earning right now whilst he sees Tino Livramento literally double, maybe even triple his wage and go, yeah, let's keep rolling. He's going to go, hold on.
They're like that, Pete. The best mates. They're like that. The best mates.
There's a high chance they're going to be full-backing each other in the World Cup at least a couple of games, unless Reece James stays fit. But they're going to be playing in the World Cup together. And so on top of that, he's going to be looking at it and going, well, I've been playing just as well as he has. I'm being talked about just as well as he has. I deserve a new contract. So you've got that to combat with. The big issue I have is that they're kicking it down the road until towards the end of the season. That's the big issue for me, because if you're kicking it down the road, that says that you're not sure that you want to commit your future to Newcastle United.
Yeah.
If you're sure, you sign in the contract.
Yeah.
That then throws up that he's interested in going to Man City. And if he's going to Man City, or if Man City are interested, there is 9 times out of 10, in most cases, only one outcome in the league. However, there's some things that I'm going to be looking out for. So Reed, for example, I think the lad from Feyenoord that Gene Esther mentioned, that was a player that Man City were really hot on and were looking to sign him in January. So I'm going to be watching that situation, because if he signs for Man City in January, that doesn't mean that Livramento's not going. But what it means is if he signs for them and then plays well for them, there might be less of a need to spend big money, because that's the other factor as well. Is that Tino Livramento's contract runs out in 2028. So in the summer, he'll have 2 years left to run. But Newcastle United are going to want big money for him. Someone said earlier, I think it might have been Funby when I put it in our chat, I put it in his chat when it came out, and he said 70 million. For me, I'm asking more. If you really want him, City, pay more. Like whether he's worth it or not is a different conversation. For me, I think he is, because he's important. That's how important he is for Newcastle United. But
do you think the 2 years impacts, Pete? I mean, we've seen with Alexander Isak, he had 3 years, didn't he? But does the fact he's got 2 years, does that put a little bit of pressure on Newcastle, do you think?
Potentially. But I personally think that Man City aren't going to be prepared to wait for another year. If we turn around and go 80 million and they don't want to pay it, there's a high chance that if Newcastle do things right next year and we have a good season, that Tino signs a new contract with us because, and it's a risk, by the way, it is a risk. It's a big risky game, but there's a high chance, because I don't think Man City will wait. They'll go and sign a right back in the summer. So if Tino's too expensive or not available, they will go and sign a right back to be their main guy. They won't wait another couple of years for him. They've already waited a year because they tried to get him this summer. I don't think they'll wait again. So we can still play hardball. It's a risky game, but it could well end up in our favour, because if we turn around and go 80 million and they go, nah, it's too much, we go 80 million. If you want him, that's what you got to pay, 80 million. And they go, nah, we're all right. And they go and sign Coyote, or they go and sign Reed, or whoever is the right back. That's going to be their right back going into the new season. That's going to be their main guy. So they've effectively already moved on. So therefore, it puts Tino in a position to go, right, head down, play for Newcastle United, ideally. And if we play well, why leave? We're up there challenging. Why leave? Sign the deal. It's a risky game, but it could be one that works. And clubs have used it before and it's worked. So it could potentially work. But that's just one scenario of a few that could potentially happen.
Two things to add, and I'm thinking Mark Gay here. You know, we saw with the Mark Gay deal, Crystal Palace drove a hard bargain, and I suppose, and Daz, come in on this. Like, do you think say we say 80 million for Tino, 2 years left to go in the summer, and Newcastle and City go, no, I'm not paying 80 million. In the following January, Newcastle then go, all right, 70 million. With 1 year to go, 60 million. Now, some people will say, oh, it'll be less than that, it'll be less than that. But given what Palace did with Gay, and Palace were that close to getting 35, 40 million for Gay when he had 6 months left on his deal. So, and if Tino Livramento goes and has a fantastic World Cup, does that then cement that price? Does that then make Newcastle go, there you go? And my second point I wanted to make, which I'm interested to hear your thoughts on, do Newcastle box clever for once and go and sign that understudy? Does letting Kieran Trippier go, for example, in the summer, and bringing in the new right back, does that then give Newcastle the impetus to then say to Man City, well, we've got our replacement right back, so it is 80 million because we've got our boy, we've got our right back there who's coming in to potentially replace Tino? Because we saw it, didn't we, when we signed Tino Livramento? We'd already brought him in before there was rumours of Trippier, because we were like, we've got our right back's in, we've got Tino Livramento. Do you think that plays a factor, boys? Do Newcastle strike while the iron's hot, go and bring in that right back to say to Tino, listen, like we've got someone here ready-made replacement. We don't want the Alexander Isak situation again, do we? Where we sell Isak and then we're like, shit, we need the striker. We can't do that again, boys.
I see where you're coming from, Chris, and it does make sense. You're going down one particular road at the moment. There's numerous roads you could go down here at this crossroads, but I'd even go down another one. Go into this transfer window in January and bring in more strength and depth to try and make sure that we get Champions League, to try and hold on to Tino, and be able to have that bit more wiggle room and wages to keep him as well, and to give him a bumper contract. But I think what you're saying is correct. We need a left back cover as well, though. But I think though if we do get to the summer, and as Pete said with the World Cup and everything like that, I think and there's no contract signed, then I think we'll be worried then. I think we might be in trouble. I'm still hoping it's hardball, but it would be if he's going to double, treble his money or anything we can offer, then we're in a bit of trouble there.
That's a good point Jeannie's made as well.
That's been the same since they got taken over. They've had to do that, is always sign English-based players. That's why they've signed so many in the past, like Gareth Barry and a few others way back when, that they've had to sign. The likes of Adam Johnson and like just random signings that they've had to sign over the years. They've had to sign English players for that reason. James Milner, for example, is another one.
Scott Carson,
yeah, he has been one of their homegrowns for that reason. For that, because it was an easy win. He was never going to play, never going to ask to play. Half the time, never on the bench, but he qualifies in the squad. So they do, and they have to pay more for those players. But you know what annoys that? Not that it annoys me. It does a little bit. Is that you look at Aston Villa signing Morgan Rogers to a new contract, and you're thinking to yourself, well, if they can do that with Rogers, why can't we do that with Sandro Tonali? Why can't we do that with Tino Livramento? Why is it always that when our players are linked, it's a case of, they're going to go, they're leaving, it's guaranteed to leave? Why can't it be that the club just goes, no, sign a deal, we're going to pay you X, sign the deal, and you're staying at the club? Why can't it be like that? Because even if it was like a Bruno situation where it has a certain level of release clause, I wouldn't even mind that, because at least then you're guaranteeing getting a huge fee for the player if the team comes in during that period of time. I feel like the club need to be a little bit more bullish in this and going, nah, actually, he's one of the best young English players in the country. Pay him the money that's going to make him stay, and that's kind of what I would like to see more than anything. But
here they are, like clockwork.
The Man City fans all summer long in fully loaded transfer shows. But look, at the grass isn't always greener. Isn't that right, Alex?
Hey,
grass isn't always greener.
Great point, Daz. It's a great point. But yeah, I'm not going to answer your question, Pete. I know you answered it very thoroughly there, but I'm not going to agonise over this. I'm really, really not. I can't allow myself to agonise over it. I just can't. I can't. Interesting, actually, Ed's Mank Therapy. How much, and Genius has asked you there, 70 plus 5 in add-ons. How much are you paying for Tino Livramento, if you're still tuned in? Do tell us, what do you think's a fair price? That would be an interesting question for Ed's Mank Therapy. We've named our price, but what would you think is a fair price?
How much are you willing to pay? How much do you really want him?
And Pete, do you think? Oh, we are. Clonlad's put his figure in. Do you think Newcastle wait until after the World Cup in terms of potentially? Oh, where we go? Okay, that's fair. I think that's reasonably fair. Fair. Do we wait till after the World Cup? Do we do before the World Cup? If it happens, I must stress for anyone just tuning in, I don't want to sell Tino Livramento. I really, really don't. But we've got to be open to the idea that, maybe the club are looking, maybe we don't know, maybe the club are looking and going, there's another player who can be another Tino Livramento, bring the cash in, be invested elsewhere. You just don't know.
It seems like at this moment in time we're being led by Tino in his camp. So it seems like, from what that report says from Craig Hope, is that Ross Wilson's come in, had those initial conversations, looking to do something, but they've gone, we're going to wait until later on in the season, and that means it's then becoming led by them. I think what needs to be done is towards the end of the season, so once May starts to hit and we know roughly where we are and where we're going to be fighting for, so by the time May comes around, we could be already sort of guaranteed European football, fingers crossed, and still fighting for Champions League. And so at that point, we're in a position where we can go then to Tino's camp and go, right, we need to have a conversation now. We can't let this drag on after World Cup. Let's have a conversation. Let's get this stressed out. We're guaranteed European football, just as an example. We're guaranteed European football at some point. We're willing to pay you this. You're seeing the vision in terms of where we're continuing to develop. Come on, sign the deal.
It could be that's what we do, Pete, in March, April. It could be. Yeah. And then if Tino says no, the club just go, right, it's going.
Right now, with that news coming out, for me, Newcastle United should already be looking at a contingency.
Yeah.
Ross Wilson and his team should already be looking at what right backs are out there. That's what should be happening. I mean, we need to be doing it anyway, because for me, I think Trippier's gone after this summer. I think this is his last season, in my opinion. So we need to be looking at a right back anyway. Yeah. I think with this news, it's a case of, right, let's look at tier 1 and let's look at tier 2. Tier 1 is a Tino level replacement. A tier 2 is a backup alternative.
Deja vu.
But it's the reality. You know what, Daz? We didn't do that with Isak last summer. It's already been proven now. And you look at the amount of players that we went through and the panic that we went through with regards to finding his replacement. We clearly weren't prepared to be able to go into that window and know who we actually wanted and done our groundwork. We clearly hadn't. It's now abundantly clear that we didn't do our homework. But we have now a chance, because we're hearing stuff like this now in December. We now have a chance to do our due diligence on a number of players out there, to know how much they're going to cost, to know whether they want to come to the Premier League, to know whether they are the right type of Eddie Howe player, to know how much it's going to cost in terms of wages to get them to the club. We can do all that groundwork now. And I hope that we get a full back in for left back in January, and then we do our extensive work on a right back moving forward. We have the chance to get it right now. I do not want to be sat here in June or July with Tino Livramento having a great World Cup and him turning around to the club and saying, I want to join Man City. And we go, oh, we better have a look at the transfer market then, or who is available, because that's what we did last year.
Fire up Football Manager there.
It would just be absolutely ridiculous if we did that. So let's get it right now. We've got the people above Eddie Howe in place that are capable of doing this job and are very good at doing this job. I don't foresee it being the same as last summer, but for me, I just don't want a drama-filled summer with players potentially being in and out. Look, if Sandro's going to go and I don't want him to leave, he needs to go before the World Cup. If Tino's going to go and going to leave and he said he doesn't want to stay at the club, they need to be sold. We need to learn from this mistake, move them out quickly, get the maximum fee, and then we can spend the summer finding the replacements and have them ready for the start of the season. And it'll be tough because they're two fantastic players, but this is football. I refuse, after Isak, I refuse to get downhearted about losing a player. I refuse to. I'm not doing it again.
Boys, 2 very quick comments. Tony Timebridge, I love this comment. Get his dad drunk on eggnog at Christmas stew and put the contract in front of him. It's a great idea, Tony Timebridge. I think that could work. I also need to respond to this, and boys, feel free to respond as well. Seacrest boxers, you need to keep the faith, mate. Seacrest Boxers says, so are we going to be the club who buys lesser mortals, relies on our manager to work his magic on them, and then watch the cartel clubs walk away with the finished article? Mate, we're still on the track to, getting into that top 6 regularly. We're so very close. We really are, but we have to acknowledge we're not at City level. We're just not at City. Right now, we are not at City level, but we are on the right track. We will have to lose players we don't want to lose. We will have to sell big, but it's about selling smartly, which we haven't done previously. Look at the Alexander Isak deal as a prime example. This won't be forever. 2, maybe 3 years, we'll be up there. And players like Tino, hopefully he's still here, but who knows? Players like Tino, we'll be keeping hold of them because we'll be challenging for titles, we'll be winning trophies, and they'll want to stay, and it won't even be a discussion. But right now, we're not quite there yet. So don't be too downhearted. There's plenty of good players out there.
But just to go back to the lady from the Seacrest Boxers, because I'm with her in this. Well, I want to fight as much as we can to hold on to Tino, because the Tinos don't come around too often. The only weakness I find with Tino is his shooting, or he doesn't take a shot, because I see him get into great positions sometimes and go shoot, but he passes and it doesn't. It's the only weakness I see in him. But definitely want to hold on to him if we can.
And boys, sorry, one very, 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 very last comment, because I will forget. My little Mo. This is Anne, isn't it? This is
Anne, yeah.
Anne, I'm so sorry. Anne said this. It was 2 or 3 shows ago, and I did start it, and for one reason or another, I think we ran out of time. And you put that you'd smashed your previous load of mad glass. And I seen it, and I was starting. I'm going to mention this, and Anne, I'm really sorry I forgot to mention it. But Anne, bless her, glass smashed, and she's gone out. She's got a new glass. She told us on it was about 3 shows ago, and Anne said, "I love my new glass. It's brilliant." And I'm really pleased that you made up with your new glass. And I just wanted to give you that shout out, because I should have done it a few shows ago, and I do apologise for missing it. But,
I hope it wasn't at the Marseille game when Popey got that rush blood to the head, man. Yeah, I don't think it was. But cool.
Pete, sorry mate, you were going to jump in, fella.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to jump in with a point, but simples, as Alan said there, lads. If we sell, we're no better than Bournemouth. We would be. They did not sell their better players up there competing, but yeah. If they didn't sell their best players, they would be up there competing, because they sold some hell of a players. I don't think it's quite Bournemouth. I don't think it's quite that simple, Alan. We didn't sell. We're not selling all of our players. Obviously, we lost our main star player, and Tino would be a top player if we lost them. We're not quite the same as them, because they did it all in one window. But I see your point that you're making. The reality is, on top of what Chris said, is that if you don't want to be selling your best players and you want to be keeping them at your club, you've got to get Champions League football. Because Champions League football is the bread and butter if you want to build to be a top team that can pay big wages, big transfer fees, year upon year, and keep your players for long periods of time. That top 6 can do that because they have the money, the revenue, everything else behind it to be able to do so. We're not there in everything that we do. And as much as we don't like it, and the comment that was on earlier that Chris put on the screen, it's just the case that when we're kind of like we're at a halfway of our journey, we still need to be building. So, look, if it was as simple as that, I would snap your hand off and take Champions League football. We've got to go and grasp that opportunity, and it starts on Sunday. Get the win. Propellers up the table, win the derby, and let's go on the march for Champions League football. That's what we need if we want to keep players like this.
And overtake Sunderland along the way on Sunday evening. We will be back Sunday evening as well for the reaction show of this game. Thanks for sticking with us. Go check out our reaction show from last night, our top table talk from the night before as well. Smash that like button on the way out. Let's hope we see 3 points coming, and give Tom a bad day on Monday. That's it from us. See you on the next one. Good night, everyone.
Come on. Later in life, the things you love, you lose. But you've got the love I need to see me through. You got the love, you got the love.